do you get to be the one who claps?
'Cause I'm a musician, man. All right. All right, so hey, everybody, welcome to the very first Do Good podcast with
Hank and Chappie.
Chappie and Hank.
Yeah. And we are, we've been talking about doing a podcast for quite a while. We've got the episodes coming out on YouTube. And the stuff that we're talking about, finding heroes making a difference, and then just telling their stories and trying to connect them to audiences.
And finding a way to do good for people who are doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had been talking about doing a podcast as well, just kind of bringing that conversation over to this side of the house. And so, but we've been talking about doing podcasts for a while.
At least 6 weeks.
Yeah.
No, it's been longer than that. Let's see, we've been working together since 2017, right? We got to do a whole lot of really cool stuff.
You know what might be worthwhile is we need to give them a quick introduction, like who we are, so they know.
They know because of the show.
Well, but they might not know. It might be their first podcast ever listened to.
If they're not watching the show, I don't want nothing to do with them.
Forget you guys.
Right. Yeah. Okay. You can start. Tell me about yourself, man.
Yeah. Well, so I'll do a quick rundown on me. So former Army chaplain, but my background is in film, and my second master's is in media arts and communication. So when I was in Afghanistan, I put together a documentary called No Greater Love.
I saw that.
Yeah, and the film went out to theaters, screened at White House Before Congress, and then it's on Amazon Prime right now. But I continued working in film, and then I met you at the inaugural ball for Veterans Inaugural Ball back in 2016.
And I think they had to change the name to the Vetties Inaugural Ball because the Purple Heart people sued them, or the Medal of Honor Ball sued them for that name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like then I met you there, and your background. What I learned about your background, I was like, man, we've got a lot in common. Two dudes from Texas, both went into the military, both working in media, but you're working in music.
Right.
Yeah.
Two dudes that made the bad decision to try to be in infantry units, right? I know, like, both of us, media entertainment, right? Mm-hmm. My band was playing the music there, and you were given the invocation, but you were given the invocation because you were a filmmaker, right? Mm-hmm. And it worked out pretty good. And both of us, I guess, kind of had some of the same, at least this is the way it looked to me, felt like you could relate with some of the stuff that I could tell you, the stuff that I couldn't tell my mental health provider, you know? And that gave me a chance that I could talk to you. I had someone to talk to without the fear of getting locked up, Yeah. And I know that that's what they're supposed to do, and it saves lives that they do that. Yeah. But sometimes it prevents people from even seeking help. You know what I mean? And it just worked out really good that we found a way that we could team up what our talents were. And it's been incredibly healing for me. You've done a whole lot for me. But it's also helped people see what we're doing. Yeah.
It's like so we started doing a phone call in the mornings. You were doing the music. Mm-hmm. And we'll talk a little bit about that, like the music side of Hank.
Yeah.
Barbe.
So I sing in a band called Three Beards, right? And everyone's like, hey, where'd you get that name? And I was like, well, I wanted to name it something else. And the guy in the band was like, that's an old man name. And so I was like, well, we'll just pick random words. And so I picked two random words and they fit. And we're like, okay, that's us now.
Why three?
Because there were two of us. But now there's four of us. At one time there was five of us.
Yeah. So you just met in the middle.
Well, no.
Three is the number that should be counted.
We wanted to focus on the music and not the mathematics.
That's right.
Right? Save the math for
the nerds.
For Dungeons and Dragons, right?
No, so it's like so y'all were doing the music out there. Y'all did a phenomenal job, and then we chatted, and then
we were completely unprepared, by the way.
Yeah.
Y'all
didn't seem like it. Y'all seemed like you did a good job.
Let me tell you, you notice we had a bass player for the first two songs, and then we didn't have a bass player for the rest, because my friend, he practiced on a guitar because he was a guitar player, and I was trying to, he was also our friend, so we're trying to get him in there, and so he showed up, and you got to practice the way you play,
Yeah.
And I remember John told me at one time he leaned over and said, I think Hank is mad at me. And I was like, we're all smiling, having a good time.
It was a tuxedo event
Yeah,
too.
and he was right a little bit.
Yeah.
But it turned out really good. We had a good time, and
Yeah. Well, and that's where we became friends, and like then we started doing a morning call, and that's just like it became like a check in. How you doing? How's your day going? And to kind of at the time I was dealing with pretty bad depression and PTSD and all that kind of stuff, and so just having that person who understood where I was coming from, understood my experiences, both like pursuing a dream, working in media, which is a risky business.
yeah,
But also understanding the trauma, all that other stuff I had been through. That's there's not a lot of people who have that kind of stuff in common. So we started doing a morning call, and that evolved into shooting music videos. That evolved into working on media projects, and then Do Good, and the series on disaster relief, and well, not just disaster relief, like we're going to expand it beyond that, but yeah. So, and then we were like trying to figure out like, well, how can we bring this conversation, the morning conversations that we have anyways, to the audience, kind of letting them connect in, and podcast.
yeah.
Let's do a podcast.
Man, and I was so like, I remember I was so resistant at first to the podcast idea, because like we do tons of podcasts.
Yeah.
But we never do the podcast,
Because that looks like work.
That's right. And work
You'll
is,
let them do the work.
work is a 4-letter word, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then we just got Jake to do the work is what we did.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Jake's still over there.
That's right. Yeah.
So now I feel lazy. But so the episodes have been going. Like we've had some struggles with this. I mean, like we got the funding to knock out production, like when Hurricane Laura hit.
Yeah.
So brief update on that. Like so my home got hit by 2 hurricanes. So we decided to turn on the cameras, find the heroes, and then donate the monetization of views from the episodes we produce on YouTube to the charities that we're covering as a way to give back and to just raise awareness for disaster relief and these nonprofits.
Yeah.
So Hank came down. We shot the episodes. We got 2 episodes cut, and then funding dried up.
Yep.
COVID problems.
And plus, the thing is, you talk about how fast the news cycles move.
Yeah.
Once something else happened someplace else, nobody cared.
Yeah.
Oh, that city got destroyed. Well,
That's
this
old
city
news.
is about to get destroyed.
Yeah.
Or
Celebrities.
This city got destroyed. Well, so and so just got her 4th Grammy and her first trip.
Yeah. So it's like it's hard to take care of like those problems, that require longer conversation.
Right.
So we got the funding for the next couple of episodes. We're about to release those out. And that actually, I think we've got the audience caught up now. So now we're on to this episode.
Right on. And this episode
It's
is all about pets.
We're going to talk about pets.
Pets.
Yeah, it is specifically like pets and disasters.
Right. Because people take pets because it's fun having a dog, it's fun having a cat, but those animals are completely dependent on you. And if you have a heart, you should they're part of your family.
Yeah.
But even with that in mind, sometimes people are making difficult choices.
Yeah.
Like the storm comes and they're not home and their animal's stuck at home and they can't get back home, but they have to leave.
Yeah.
What happens to that animal?
Yeah.
And then some people are like, I know you've told this story about the horse in Cameron, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like this is something I heard about, like, as they were driving out. One of the guys that was trying to escape the storm as it was coming, like the last thing he saw in Cameron was a horse tied up to a fence, and that he didn't have time to stop and go free the horse.
That's what I mean. Difficult choices, right?
Yeah.
So and you think about, the power of a storm surge, right? Someplace like Cameron, Louisiana.
Yeah.
Right. I remember one of the first things that I noticed that first day when we drove into Cameron, besides the fact that every telephone pole was laying down.
Yeah.
Like for 30 miles. And it wasn't like there was just some stuff. No, you could see the telephone poles because they were sticking up in these piles of debris that were on the road.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing an alligator in the middle of the road that someone had hit with a car. So that's like,
Yeah.
it's displacing the wildlife too, you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it's vicious. And so when we were working on this episode, though, it's like we know one of the first responses that some people in the audience were going to have when we're talking about pets is like, well, why are we talking about pets when we can't even save everybody? And so, just that conflict on that issue, it's in a this or that type
Right.
of thinking,
Right.
rather than, well, why can't we figure out how to do both
Yeah.
and have the conversation about both? But so we're working on that, but the way we decided to approach it is to first talk about our relationship with our pets, what they mean to us. And specifically, we wanted to talk about Noble.
Yeah.
So tell me about Noble.
So, I struggled a whole lot when I first came back with PTSD, and I think secondary to that, maybe some substance type stuff, drinking a lot of alcohol and stuff like that. And one day I had an incident where I injured myself really bad. And I was having some mobility issues because I had a pretty good TBI, and I actually lost my ear, and they put it back on. You can see the
wow.
line, yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. It was weird waking up, and there was like plastic glue wrapped around it, and I kept pulling it off, and they're like, stop it. But one of the things that happened was I was really off balance a lot. Like I had,
Like an equilibrium issue.
yeah, and it caused mobility issues, right? So there was a service dog organization called PPAWS, and I don't think they're even around anymore.
Yeah.
But they gave me this 2-year-old Great Dane who was trained, and he had this harness with like a saddle on it that I could put my hand on. And they used Great Danes because they were large dogs, and when they stopped, they would lean.
Yeah.
And so it was like I had 4 more legs, keeping myself stable.
Yeah.
And
And you're not a little dude.
no. Thanks, man. And the other thing that he did was like he was aware of the surroundings.
Yeah.
So if I was starting to get nervous or worried something was going on, I could look at him, and he's just sitting there doing nothing, and I'm like, well, okay, it's probably me. But sometimes it backfired. Man, one time in the middle of the night, I had a big giant bay windows because I like to look outside and wish I was free,
Yeah.
But big bay window by the bed, and Noble slept in bed with me. And one night, I guess he rolled over and fell off the bed. His feet hit that bay window, and so I'm asleep, and I wake up to this breaking, shattering glass, and my dog screaming bloody murder and running out of the room, right? And so I'm like, "Rah!"
Burglar.
And I look, and that poor dog,
He's just a big dude.
yeah. But I got him when he was 2, and he lived till he was 11.
Oh, wow. And that's
Yeah.
old for Great Danes.
He died on National Dog Day, just a few days before Hurricane Laura hit Lake
Yeah.
Charles. And if I hadn't been able to if I had to stay home with him, I might have been able to come up for a week, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But I think we were here for 6 weeks, and we're able
Yeah,
to,
filming.
to find a lot of people, and kind of embed ourselves in the community and get to where people knew who we were, and they wanted to talk to us when they saw us,
Yeah.
But yeah, Noble, man, he was cool.
Well, how much of an impact did he make for you then?
Well, a lot of it, I say, well, they say the friendship, because dogs are loyal and they love you, right?
Yeah.
And so for sure that helped, But the other thing was it gave me something that was dependent on me,
Yeah.
right? So I couldn't just go off and go crazy because I knew, man, I got to be home by this time because my dog's in the house, and I got to take the dog, let him go outside. I can't spend all my money on this because I got to buy dog food. I can't just,
Yeah.
It kind of made me have a little bit of responsibility, and I needed that purpose, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like once you're connected to them, then it's like you feel responsible for them, and that responsibility does, I think, like make you have a purpose then. So, I don't know. Like my daughter's dog, the dog that we got recently, Kato, the one that we just shot the music video with.
Rock star dog.
Rock star dog now. We shot a music video with them yesterday for Hank's upcoming single, Thinking of You. And so that little dog, since the kids go to school and Megan's usually like working, and doing something else. So the dog started hanging out with me everywhere I go. And it's weird how quickly you like connect with them. They come in sync with you. They become your little friend.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways he became that emotional support for me too. When I'm just not feeling great about something, I'm just kind of having a bad day or something, they're a comforter. And so I think it's one of those things that people either get or they don't. That you either understand why we need to take care of animals in the midst of disasters or you don't. And often I think it's because of your relationship to these animals.
Right.
Like the people who get it, chances are they do have a friendship with a dog or an animal, a cat or what have you. They understand why we need to roll up our sleeves and take care of them and have a plan. The
Right,
people who don't just don't get it.
But, a lot of those people, that's not the first thing that pops into their head.
Yeah.
They see that and they think those poor people.
Yes.
And it's true.
It is true.
Because we have to take care of ourselves.
Yes.
But those animals have no idea what's going on. They're domesticated. That dog's getting fed by a certain person, knows where to go to eat, doesn't know how to go and hunt. Cats are okay. Cats will be fine.
They're fine.
Cats,
they don't ever lose their instinct.
what they say, firefighters say they never saw a cat skeleton in a tree.
No.
So like, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like the Cato. I don't know how he would fare on his own. He gets by in this life by being cute, but
And confident.
Very confident.
Yeah.
But so that's even having this conversation with people, like why we need to figure out how to put it on the priority list. There's not much of a point. Like you either get it or you don't. So with this upcoming episode, we wanted to do is just focus on our why we, decided that this needs to be a part of the conversation, namely because of Noble.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'd say I don't know how we would be doing Do Good if you didn't have that kind of support, from that dog.
Well, and when I first came here, after Laura, I was like, okay, I'm going to stay here. I don't have any reason to go back home.
Yeah.
Not like stay forever, but like I wasn't in any rush to go home because I knew when I went home, it was just going to be quiet, But I remember when we started going to some of the animal rescue places, like the Paws on the Go place.
Yeah.
Like I didn't, for the first few weeks that I was here, think, I'm going to take a dog home with me. That was wasn't a thing, But then when we started talking about, that Paws on the Go place where they built that place to be hurricane
walk
proof.
us through that journey.
So there's a animal rescue. It's not even an animal rescue place, right? They're animal groomers, right? But they're smart. They knew this is a place that hurricanes hit. So when they had their place built, they built it to withstand 175 miles an hour winds, right?
Yeah.
And they still had a little bit of damage because there were 190 mile an hour winds, 180.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, they were having to physically hold the door shut.
Right. Yeah, like
the storm
it's trying to
was
suck it
hitting.
off.
Yeah.
Because that door goes, everything inside goes.
Yeah.
It's like those scenes in space where everything gets sucked out. But I think they said the guy had tied leashes together, right?
Yeah.
And we're using that because they weren't strong enough, all
Yeah.
of them, to hold it shut. But I remember we walked through, and all of the rooms were full of animals. You have 6 dogs in here because they were rescues, and then even outside they had tents set up, and they had the Compassion Kind, right? Asia. They had their stuff where they were going through and rescuing animals too.
Yeah.
And so I remember going through and we're walking, and one room might have 8 cats in it. Another one had like 4 or 5 dogs.
Yeah.
And we get all the way to the end, and then there's one dog by herself. And as soon as anybody looked in the window, she just went to the corner on that little dog bed and would start shaking.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, I should take that dog home. That would be a great pet. It's very outgoing and happy.
What did you like? What were your first? Like my first impression was like this dog has been through some stuff.
Yeah, that she had that 1,000-mile stare or
Yeah.
1,000-yard stare, right? My first impression when I saw her was like, there's no way that I thought, man, this dog's going to have to be euthanized.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, you hear stories about animals who are so traumatized and injured. And, you know, for real, mental injuries are injuries,
Yes.
you know. And I remember she wouldn't look at me. And we went in there, and I think I was like still like 280. And I'm trying to get down on the floor to sit by her and see if I could calm her down. And I tried to give her a treat. She wouldn't even look at me. And I remember thinking, like, man, there's no way I can take this dog home.
Yeah.
You know, this is just asking, like, my neighbors have kids, and, you know, I have kids, you know, and my kids were used to Noble. And Noble, you could jump off the couch and grab him and he wouldn't care,
Yeah.
you know. And then Gwyneth came in, your daughter. And she went right to Gwyneth went right to her. And before I could stop her, Gwyneth reached over and just gave her a hug. And I was like, no, because that's a terrible idea, right?
Yeah.
Never, ever do that.
Yeah.
But Marley didn't react to her. Marley just sat there, and I think she even, like, might have reached down to lick her shirt to, like, let her know I'm not going to hurt you, and just kind of sat there, but she still shook the whole time.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, I'm going to stew over this, because maybe if she's not aggressive, then maybe
Just got a shot.
she'll just be like an oversized Chihuahua that's just shaking and afraid of everything, you know, like, so people can love those dogs. And I took her home, and, like, as soon as she figured out that she was there and that was her place, she was a little bit better. And then within a year, like, she'll dance with me. I got videos of her celebrating her treats. She sneaks off to play with other dogs, which is a big thing, because she was a bait dog, right?
Yeah.
You know, they would put them on leashes and swing them around tetherball things so that other dogs could get used to biting flesh, right?
Yes.
And she has scars on her that are shaped like dog teeth. And
It's like I didn't realize that was a thing before. Like I'd heard about dogs fighting each other, and I was like, okay, that's just sick and sad. But dudes taking these dogs,
they're passive dogs,
so that way they won't injure their fighting dog.
right?
And then letting the fighting dog just go at them. And I mean, like, the amount of cruelty on that is just horrific.
And that's why she was the only dog that was by herself, because she was afraid of all other dogs, because her experience with other dogs was she was getting bit.
Yeah, from a young age.
Yeah. And so now it's amazing. You know, my neighbors have 3 dogs, a big German Shepherd and 2 little loud dogs. I don't know what they are, but they're okay, right?
Yeah.
But Marley would stand by the door and watch them as they barked at us, because they were just loud dogs.
Yeah.
And within a few months, Marley would get closer and closer to the fence. One day I came out, and Marley was on the other side of the fence laying down with all 4 of those dogs. You know.
Wow.
And then I came in the backyard one time, and Marley was just in the yard, and they were running around.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, hey, now she's socialized.
Yeah, I mean, it's like whenever I come in to Blanco, your house, and I've watched her progress slowly to where she'll jump up on the couch with me and lean against me. She's still looking in the other direction. She'll look at me a couple of times and, like, you know, give me love and just be sweet, and let me pet her though. But she's leaning on me.
Yeah.
So it's like, I like you. Please don't be mad at me. You know, and I'm like, oh man. So but how long it's been over a year, and
I brought her home in October.
yeah, so a year and some months.
Yeah.
But the amount of time it's taken from a dog that had severe PTSD, severe trauma, to come to a point where she's lovable, happy, you know, just doing great.
Yeah.
Is about a year. And
But I will tell you, the folks that watch her when I leave, because I won't put her back in a kennel, because she's, you know, I think that
too much trauma.
Yeah, too much trauma. The folks that watch her, they told me that the first 2 or 3 days that I'm gone, she's fine. But by the 3rd or 4th day, she starts to sit down and shake again, because she starts to think that I guess that I'm not coming back.
Yes.
But I come here for work a lot, so she's getting more and more used to it, you know.
Yeah. But it's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, like, but what I think is incredible is that dogs are similar to us in that, you know, both of us have been through PTSD. We know a bunch of dudes who've been through PTSD because of war. Dogs go through that same mental process but they also can go through the same process of finding hope and healing, and getting into a good place.
Right.
And so for a lot of soldiers and veterans out there, it's like, who are still stuck in that place. It's so critical, I think, for them to actually see other people who have gone down that road of healing and knowing that they're not alone in this.
Right.
There is a way out of it. And even dogs can find a way out of it,
Yeah.
which is weird, but I was like, man, that is so cool. And I didn't know how it was going to turn out for her. I knew that your home was going to be, out in the country was going to be 10 times better than where she currently was.
Right.
And also, too, it's like, I don't know how many people would have taken a dog with PTSD like that.
I think not too many. I think most people would advise against it.
Yeah.
Especially with the fighting dog background, because man, she plays like a fighting dog.
Yeah.
When we play, she jumps and she'll like bounce her head against my arms.
Yeah.
Like she's biting, but she doesn't open her mouth and put her mouth on me.
Yeah.
But like letting me know she could.
Yeah.
But the way I look at it, I don't have enough company and enough people coming through my house.
Yeah.
And she tends to still hide when people come to the house, like strangers, right? But she didn't get a chance to play when she was a puppy.
Yeah.
So I just let her play the way she wants to play.
Yeah.
As long as she's not destroying stuff. And she does that sometimes too, and that's okay.
she's still a big dog.
That's
too.
okay. Yeah, I
She's
imagine.
not a Chihuahua.
I imagine that she's maybe a little bit developmentally delayed just because when she was so young, that stuff was happening.
Yeah.
But on the other side of that, she's like very well behaved.
Yeah.
You can tell she's
She
trying.
doesn't want to offend you.
Yes, you can tell she's trying.
Yeah.
And I just love her. She's good looking too.
Yeah, she's a good dog. And she's like the big old sad eyes. That was like the first thing I saw. And she's just got those great eyes.
But some of that sad eyes is because of the coloring on her face.
Yes, it is. It is. Well, the way that the fur is shaped, it just makes her look even sadder.
Yeah.
So it's like a Sarah McLachlan type video.
Yeah. It's like it's kind of funny. Like our first podcast that we're recording, we're sitting here talking about, oh, your puppy's so cute. These combat veterans, right? Oh, yeah.
So there I was.
And this dog's eyes really popped.
RPGs flying everywhere. That's probably not what people are expecting. But you know what, though? When I was downrange, we would pick up dogs. And people love dogs. I mean, like, you're in a place, in an environment where there's not a lot of affection, not a lot of love. Dogs, they are full of affection and love and just unconditional acceptance.
Right.
And like we desperately need that in our lives. So like, whenever they would pick up an Afghan dog, they would just absolutely love them and they become a part of the platoons. And there was one dog, the Taliban out in that area, the culture is completely different. They'll abuse the dogs. They're mean to the dogs. They'll even cut off the ears of dogs and eat the ears. They'll tie them to a tree and just throw rocks at them for fun. It was sadistic and horrible. So we would get the dogs, and then they would hate, the Afghans. So it was a great warning on the bases, that there was Afghans present. But there was one dog that we named Hear No Evil because he was missing his ears, and he was a great dog. He would run up, wagging his tail. He loved the soldiers, and he was the outpost dog.
Yeah.
And so I know that dog for the years that we were there. He had a good life. And he was loved on. But I think I still have a photo of him somewhere. But I don't know. I think we've got that connection to him. And I know that any platoon that had a dog had higher morale. Yeah. And it's so we need that same kind of morale when we come home. But
I was in Boomer Dust Off, so they got their name because in Vietnam they had a kangaroo. Yeah.
There was one guy who got a bear. And I think in World War II, it was I think it was a Russian company, or a Russian battalion. They had a bear, and one of my company commanders was like, "I want to get a bear. I think I have access to get a bear. And I think it would be amazing."
You think about it, and some of that stuff is just so that you can tell stories when you're an old man.
Kind of going back, how long did it take for us to kind of get the concept for this episode? It took a little while.
The
pet episode. And also like figuring like how to approach it too.
Well, I think we're still figuring out how to approach it. You know?
Well,
But I think, you know, I remember we had production meetings real early in you know, when we were starting, because we were kind of doing it on the fly. I think we hired a wedding photographer
yeah.
to film for us.
Clark. And it was phenomenal.
Yeah, he did a great job.
Clark, if you're listening, you did phenomenal.
That's right. $12 for the plug. And then we had a film student, and then we had one of your neighbors.
Yeah.
You know, and then we're like, okay, and we got it done. I mean, we got some good footage, and now we've had a little bit of space between that last episode.
Yeah.
You know, because I got hurt too, and I had to have a surgery. So
Yeah.
like there were reasons for the delay, but it gave
Well, I
us
mean,
time.
it's like, it's like we've had COVID, I mean, disaster stuff, COVID stuff, funding issues.
But what it did, you know, that was kind of a blessing in disguise, because it gave us a little bit of time to organize
Yeah.
and make some new contacts and all that good stuff. Like I said, you know, we didn't stop. We were still getting content and making content and planning content. But this had to be done a certain way because of the topic, you know?
And I think it's like part of my issue is like it has to, for me to release something, it has to hit out a certain level. Like I
Right.
hate releasing things that are not at a certain level that I feel good about.
That's right. You're not in a rock band. No, I'm just kidding.
It's the same thing with your music though. It's like y'all get it out to a really good level and then you kick it out.
Right. And we can't go back and record it in someone's garage once we've recorded with Grammy nominated producers, you know?
Yeah. It's like you have a level that you're trying to hit it. And that's not speaking against anybody who's producing something at another level.
Right.
It's just that for you, your personality,
Right.
what you prefer.
It's just we have to have a consistent body of work, and the content that comes out, people need to recognize, hey, that's them, you know?
That's what they do.
Yeah.
And so it's like that's the same way I am with the film stuff. But it's like, I mean, like this has been interesting how it's evolved. And I think kind of going back on the pet stuff, I mean, having a national conversation about this, like how can we propel out a national conversation about this? It never needs to be this or that.
Right.
You know, between saving people or saving animals. Like we have to figure out like how we can do both and feel good about doing both.
Well, and I think the way that we accomplish that and we get people to know that they can do both is we just give them knowledge that both are things that are needed.
Yeah.
You know, and it goes back to the last episode, the volunteer episode, that, you know, even the people that were coming and rescuing these animals, almost all of them were volunteers.
Yeah.
You know, and the police department did their part for sure.
Yeah.
But, you know,
They did what they could.
Asia came from Florida here.
Yeah.
You know, the aerial recovery people were even talking about animals. You know,
Yeah.
the people that are here and seeing it, they see that stuff.
You know what I think is interesting is like there's not a national plan on how to do this. There's not an overall plan on how to rescue animals from this disaster. It's
Well, at least not that we're aware of.
Yeah,
you know
not that
what I mean?
we're aware of.
I'm pretty sure that like the ASPCA probably has like emergency plans and what to do in emergencies, you know, but the thing is it's like you said, we have to let people know that this is happening, because if people know it's happening, they can get on the internet, hey, there's a hurricane, what do I do with my animal? And I guarantee you they'd find, you know, but
information. But as far as like organizations coming in, like you have Asia, and she had a few volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
You had with Compassion Kind,
aerial recovery was there.
Aerial Recovery came out,
And the police department.
and so that was it.
Yeah.
And that's like, and I remember what I remembered seeing is like a bunch of cages with animals in it that they were trying to get to homes, trying to get to safe harbors.
Right.
But too few volunteers.
Right.
And they all looked wore out.
And the other thing too is like, you've got all these animals now in this one place. Well, now those animals need food.
Yeah.
You know, and those animals might need veterinary care, medicine.
Yeah. And then they have to get shipped somewhere.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing that we can do is just make people aware that it's out there.
Yeah.
Awareness is king, because like people who have a heart and I think people are actually wired to do good.
Yeah.
I think almost everybody are wired to do good. And when they're not doing good, it's because of another mission, but they're going to do good outside. Most people, I think, want to do good.
Yeah.
So if people know, hey, we need dog food, people are going to give dog food.
Yeah.
If people are like, hey, we need adoptions or temporary fosters.
Yes.
But if they don't know,
Then they're not
going to do it.
So I think that's what this is.
Yeah,
We're letting you know.
that's right.
Yeah.
And now you know.
And now you know. So it's like the just getting the message out as far as we can. But the Compassion Kind, we're going to put some links up on that for this podcast to make sure that people know if you want to get connected. And the head of the organization is Asia. We're going to be interviewing her for our next upcoming episode.
Yeah, awesome.
She's a rock star.
Yeah.
You know, just a brilliant person who has a big heart for animals.
And a great style about her.
Yeah, just a cool person. And so we'll make sure that we get that content up, that interview out. And then if you're interested in trying to help animals in the midst of disasters, you're going to be able to go to our links and connect in. What they need is they need volunteers. They need support.
Right.
And she's been covering multiple disasters since Hurricane Laura.
Yeah, and for the pet episode, I think that Asia and Compassion Kind is our place where we're streaming the money from the episodes.
Yes.
So watching the episode, just watching it, you're doing something good for animals. Yeah. And we know because like we saw them there working.
Yes.
And she was injured when she was working, and she was still doing what she was doing because it had to be done. Yeah.
And it's like
and not to take away from the Paws on the Go because they opened their doors to everybody.
Yes. Yeah.
And you could tell that they loved those animals that were there because they were so happy that Marley was going home.
They're our local heroes.
Yes.
And they gave and they gave and they gave. And, they're a pet shelter place. Compassion Kind, what Asia's doing is just incredible. And it's like figuring out like how we can support in order for it to become a consistent thing that's on every disaster.
Right.
They're out there saving animals. If that movement could get kicked off, then there could be a lot of animals that get helped in the process.
Right, because it's not just hurricanes.
Yeah. Fires,
paradise, right? Brock was talking Brock was talking about Paradise, California.
That's horrible.
Right, and like not even all the people were able to get out of there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean so there's a lot of stuff that we can shape up moving forward. And I think just having this conversation, kind of going back to what you were saying, what we're doing with Do Good is we donate the monetization of views to the charities that we cover. Right now, that's being done through our local United Way. So whatever money we get from that episode, it goes to the United Way. From the United Way, it goes on to that charity that we're covering. And the reason we're doing that is so that way the money never touches our hands on the monetization.
Right, because money has germs.
Yeah, because I'm bad at math. I failed every math class I ever took.
You're talking about a guy who's got a band called Three Beards, and there's 4 guys in it. So yeah.
So math, we're not the best people.
Numbers are not our strength.
No. We're not going to like shiest it or anything like that. We just simply, we don't manage it. We're not good for that. So we just have it flow straight from the YouTube channel to United Way, from United Way, local United Way, to the charities that we're trying to support.
Right.
So there's accountability in this stuff too.
Yeah.
But so that's what we want to do with this upcoming episode is support Compassion Kind.
Yes.
Support Asia. It's the right person to champion for this cause. And in the next episode, we'll be moving on to the next one.
That's right.
We'll keep doing good, man.
That's right. Rock and roll.
Rock and roll.
Until next time, y'all. Right. Keep doing good.
Keep doing good.